Hello and welcome to episode 41 of Tall Guy Talks Travel with Rick Doherty. Of course, I am your host, Rick Doherty. On today's show, we'll be welcoming a first-time guest, Melinda from Central Pennsylvania. Melinda's been a friend of my wife, Courtney's, for a number of years and has become an even closer friend of ours since we've moved to Florida and can see her for her Walt Disney World vacations. I'm also proud to say she was my first ever client as a travel agent. Melinda will be discussing a lot of different aspects from her recent trip to the Orlando area. She experienced Halloween Horror Nights and the restaurant Mythos at Universal Orlando Resort, and she enjoyed Epcot's International Food and Wine Festival, Remy's Ratatouille Adventure, Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, and Boo Bash at Walt Disney World. We're going to talk about all of that afterwards. We'll be joined by our good friend Marisa from Chicago. This past weekend, I took part in the runDisney Wine and Dine 10K at Walt Disney World, and Marisa is signed up for and planning on other runDisney events in the future. We're going to discuss what it is we love so much about runDisney and why we keep signing up for these runs. As you know, I am a travel agent who focuses extensively on Walt Disney World, Disneyland, and Universal. My services are always 100% free to you, and just $200 down can lock in your next WDW vacation. After everything that happened in 2020 and into 2021, I think we all appreciate experiences a lot more than possessions right now. It would be a great idea to put a Disney or Universal vacation under the tree this holiday season. Shoot me an email at rick@eartotheretravel.com, rick@eartotheretravel.com, or call 727-507-3123, 727-507-3123. It would be an honor to help you put together that special family vacation. Now let's welcome Melinda from Central Pennsylvania to the show. Thanks for joining us, Melinda.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
So the very first thing I want to talk about, because I didn't get the chance to experience it at all this year, and a lot of people were excited because it came back full force for the first time since everything happened back in 2020. But that was you got to experience Halloween Horror Nights 30. The big anniversary version of Halloween Horror Nights at Universal Studios Florida. And I just want to talk about what you thought about the whole experience.
Sure. Yeah, we were really excited it came back. We had planned on going the year before, 2020, but with everything that happened. So I think we're at like 4 years, 5 years maybe that we've been going. Really missed not being able to do it in 2020. Super excited to be back. We sprung for the Express Pass for this trip, which is something we had never done before.
So if you wouldn't mind me asking, would you recommend springing for the Express Pass for Halloween Horror Nights? How did you find it helped your experience?
Yes. So all the years we've been going, we always did the buy one, get one free nights. And so we always felt like, okay, 2 nights, hopefully we'll get everything in. If we have to wait in line, whatever, and it's a whole experience, and there's other things to do besides wait in line for houses. So it's always been fine. But I think just not having done it for a year, they didn't offer the buy one, get one. We thought, you know what, let's just this year spring for Express Pass, knowing it was only one night we were going to do it this year. So worth it. I mean, I probably will always do the Express Pass. Again, we still had a great time every time we did it prior to this and didn't have the Express Pass, but we did every house like in record time. I also felt like this year I don't want to say they rush you through the houses, but they have a lot of people that are there in line waiting to get in. It's mind blowing. The detail, the time, the acting, everything that goes into this. It's just mind blowing. And, you kind of always wish you could spend a little more time looking at everything, walking through. I feel like this year they gave us a little more of that. They definitely, I think, knew that people missed the experience, and it was just great being able to really see all the detail and to be back. So yeah, we love the Express Pass.
As somebody who's gone a number of years in a row, obviously skipping last year, but you've done Halloween Horror Nights a number of years. How do you feel with everything that's going on and all the safety precautions? Was it any different than previous years because of that, or did everything seem to be fairly seamless and it kind of felt like the same environment?
It felt pretty close, I would say. Universal, strongly recommends, mask wearing. I think also part of the reason we kind of weren't rushed through the houses quite as much was, they're giving people that space or letting them take that space in between, guests. All of the staff wear masks. And in some of the cases they kind of painted their part of their costume onto the mask. But there were a few that they were just wearing a mask. It was a little different. I'm not saying it was bad because you go there knowing this is not real. I think overall the safety of the guests, the staff kind of trumps anything else. That's very important. It's nice that a lot of the stuff you experience at Halloween Horror Nights is outside because they have the scare zones. They have a lot of, outdoor shows going on, opportunities to, experience things that way as well. So that's definitely a nice bonus to the whole experience.
So last year they didn't do Halloween Horror Nights, but they did have some of the houses during the day. And I'm not a person who likes to get scared, but one of the reasons I felt comfortable doing the houses last year is because I knew they wouldn't touch me. So I actually was more likely to do things because of the safety precautions, not just because of the safety precautions, but because I knew no matter what happens, nobody's touching me because Universal could get in trouble for that. While you were at Universal, you also experienced one of the most popular theme park restaurants in the world, has literally been voted best theme park restaurant in the world in the past, and that's Mythos over at Universal's Islands of Adventure. You had a big party, a party of 10, a lot of different types of people to try to make happy, and from what you've told me off the podcast, it really lived up to all the hype and it really did make everybody happy. Why don't you talk about that meal a little?
We ate at Mythos once before. It was many years ago, on one of our trips to Universal. We were blown away by, the service, the food, the atmosphere, and I've always wanted to go back. That was on a trip with just my husband Tim and I. This time we had our kiddos with us. We were with some friends and their kids. I wanted my kids to be able to experience it. The menu was completely different from the time, we went years ago, but it was just as amazing. The food was just blew us away. The kids, I mean, they have kid friendly meals. My kids got the typical pizza. I think Lydia got chicken strips, chicken strips, mashed potatoes, and probably French fries. But I got this amazing grilled cheese, like in a tomato soup. This really rich, thick, delicious tomato soup. Tim got I think it was like pad thai with peanut sauce. Totally different from what we ate last time, but just as amazing and probably still the best restaurant I've eaten at a theme park and I've been to quite a few and eaten at a lot of restaurants. So that's saying a lot. And it's really cool in there. So, just the experience and we're looking around and there's, carvings of things in the walls and when you're outside the restaurant, it's like this big mountain waterfall sculpture. When you're inside, there's the windows, the water's falling, and oh, that's that cool, structure on the outside that's got the water coming down. You have an amazing view of Islands of Adventure, like super cool, so worth it. And to be honest, price wise, it was not much more than what we'd pay at, some quick services in some other parks. So definitely worth it.
I would have no idea what other parks to which you are referring with that. So before we skip over to those other parks just a little bit west on I-4, I just want to ask you before we get there, did you get to experience Velocicoaster?
Oh no. It was on our list. We were about to do it. One of the people that I was with was watching it and said that she just felt like it was, I don't know, just like when she saw it go up the hill, she just felt like it looks like it barely makes it. And she got nervous, which and then part made, the person I was going to ride with nervous. And I was like, well, I mean, I'm not riding it by myself. So So we decided we are going to save that for our next trip. So it's something to look forward to. It was on the list. I did ride Hagrid's motorbike, super fun. But yeah, Velocicoaster, it's got to wait till my next trip.
It is kind of funny how Velocicoaster has made it a lot more accessible to ride Hagrid's, because that used to have such huge lines, and now that Velocicoaster is right there, it's sort of
Yep.
helped make everything a little more manageable. So let's move on to Walt Disney World, because you experienced a lot at Walt Disney World as well. Most notably, I think this is your favorite event that happens at Walt Disney World. You always love the Epcot food festivals, and you experienced Food and Wine. It's wrapping up here in just a couple of days on November 20th, but what are some of your favorite items from Epcot's International Food and Wine Festival?
Oh yes, I first and foremost, I think the noodle exchange, the beef pho was amazing. Would probably get that every single time. I try to eat different things each time, or I will get like a few of my favorites that have carried over. They change up the menu, but that was so good. Everyone in my party loved it. That's a must. That's probably top of my list for this trip. At the Alps, there was, and I know I'm probably not going to pronounce this right or say this right. It was frigopene or do you know what that's called?
Melinda, I believe you're talking about the blueberry and almond frangipane tart with
Yep,
creme
that's it.
fraiche.
You got it. You nailed it.
Sure, we'll assume I
Amazing.
nailed it. We have no idea.
I,
Yeah,
I
I
don't know
actually had this back in 2020 and really loved it. I haven't had it yet this year to see if it's the same version, but
okay.
that was
So
definitely
good.
really fresh tasting, I remembered, and it really blew me away.
Yeah, same. It really was so good. We always enjoy Hawaii, the pulled pork slider, the cheesecake. Their little cheesecake there is to die for. So we definitely got that again, and that we've had previously. I tried something really cool that I absolutely loved, and that was the crispy chicken on sriracha glazed donut at the donut box. I would eat that any day of the week.
That's really interesting because I had the sriracha donut itself,
Mhm.
obviously without the chicken. Anybody who listens knows I'm a vegetarian, so I couldn't have the chicken, but I had the donut and I thought it was really, really good. I thought it would taste weird, but it was
Right?
just that nice little bit of spicy to kind of counteract the sweetness. Because I don't know if you had the candy jar donut at the
No.
donut box. That was so sweet, it was disgusting to me. Maybe you'll like it. I'm not saying anybody, like, if you liked it, that's fine. But it was just way too sweet for me. But then that sriracha to kind of counteract the sweetness, I really, really liked that. And then I can imagine throwing the chicken on there just added a whole nother savory level.
Yeah, it was I loved it. I definitely would get that again. Another favorite was the cowboy mac and cheese at Mac and Eats. Everybody really liked that. Those are definitely the top. Now, I really am upset that I didn't get to eat my creme brulee from France. That's creme brulee is my favorite dessert, so that's on my list for my next trip. But I'm sure it'll be phenomenal. That was the only line, honestly, the only line that I felt like I could not wait in. We had the best day at Epcot. We hit every um, spot that we wanted, every place we wanted to eat at. We tried everything. We rode all the rides that we wanted to ride. It was just probably our most successful as far as, getting everything in was definitely Epcot day and Food and Wine. Loved it.
I will say that I noticed a lot of what you're saying about the France Pavilion ever since they opened Remy's Ratatouille Adventure. It feels like everybody just gravitates back towards the France Pavilion. Once people get used to Remy's Ratatouille Adventure and once it's more a part of the park and doesn't have that new feeling, I think it's going to even out again. But right now, it is packed back there. And you did get the chance to ride Remy's Ratatouille Adventure, so this is the perfect time to talk about that. What did you think about it? And one thing I want to add is you went with kids. And I think a lot of people aren't taking that into consideration when they talk about this ride because, no, it's not a big e-ticket attraction like Tower of Terror or Expedition Everest, but this is something that like everybody in the family can enjoy, and it's really geared towards the kids. So your perspective on it really matters a lot.
Sure, yeah. We were lucky enough to get a boarding pass. I didn't really have any trouble. Did the typical got up, right at 7, refreshed, hit the, join queue. I think our boarding group was like 70 something. So it was later in the day. They kept me updated. They'd send, messages. And I think, I can go in and check and it'll say where they're at and how long the wait will be, that kind of thing. So that was really nice. When we were called, I think we're, other end of the park, worked our way over there. We still waited in, in a line. I think this is funny, my older kids. So all of my kids were with me, 6 kids, older kids and younger kids. My older kids had the hardest time. They didn't understand. Well, you got on and got us this boarding pass. Why are we waiting in line? So that was fun to kind of like explain to them, well, it just ensures that we get to ride the ride. Doesn't mean we come and we immediately get on and, it's better than waiting 2 hours. It was fun. It was definitely a fun ride. My younger kids, I think, really, really, really enjoyed it. I definitely liked it, but as you said, it's kind of like it didn't blow me away the way some other rides typically do, but it was definitely fun. Would I try for a boarding pass? Absolutely. I would try for it anytime I'm going because, I enjoyed it and I would ride it again. If I don't get a boarding pass, the times I'm not there with my kids, okay. But I, would love my kids to be able to get back on it. They thought it was super fun. So it was a good experience. I enjoyed it. I like it. I'm glad it's there. I think you should definitely, try to experience it. But for the little kids, it's really great for the little kids for sure.
And Remy's Ratatouille Adventure is the newest ride at Walt Disney World, but the second newest ride you got to experience for the second time. And you have now said it is your second favorite ride in all of Walt Disney World. And your youngest daughter, your Hollywood Studios day, we were actually there with you. And she was like, I want to ride it again. I want to ride it again. Your family seems to dig Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. And some people I don't think can appreciate how having a ride that really appeals to someone like your youngest daughter's age is really important, especially in that park, because there's not a whole lot to do for little kids. So talk about how much she loved that ride. Talk about how much you love that ride.
Yes, I love it. Loved it the first time I rode it. Loved it just as much, this past trip we were there. My youngest daughter, who loves Disney, but definitely has some reservations about certain rides. She does not like drops. Certain rides are just not her thing. She could ride this over and over again. It's so fun. It's got all elements. It's basically you feel like you're in a cartoon, but it's not just like a screen that you're sort of parked in front of and, go with the motions. Your car's moving around. There's a whole story. There's different things going on. Everything changes. It's just so fun. It's a little fast paced, but you can keep up. And I was so happy to find, another ride, like you said, especially at Hollywood Studios. It's sort of a tough park for little ones who don't do the thrills. She's definitely not getting on Tower of Terror. She won't even get on Slinky Dog, even though it's a super fun roller coaster, because it's got some drops. She's a little nervous about that. So this was just, I think, our saving grace for her for that park. And yeah, she wanted to ride it again. We got on that again. We rode it twice. And I'm not upset about it.
And I think since Star Wars Rise of the Resistance has gone to a standby wait instead of boarding groups, it has actually had the line for Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway drop in time because people aren't just waiting around for their Rise of the Resistance boarding group, and now they're in line for Rise of the Resistance. So it gets some people from the park, moves them over to Galaxy's Edge. And I think the time we rode it together, it was a 45-minute wait. And I think we waited like 28 minutes or something like that until we got to ride it. So it's definitely not as bad as it was when the parks first reopened and it was an 80, 90-minute wait all the time. It's starting to come down a little bit, and that's a really good thing. One last thing I want to discuss with you today, and that is you also had the chance to try Boo Bash, the after-hours event at Magic Kingdom, and we don't sugarcoat things. There was a little bit of a problem at the beginning of your day where whatever happened with your Magic Band, it wasn't showing up. Apparently, a lot of people had that problem as well because you were then stuck at a long line at guest relations. But they did get you into the event before the event officially started. Once you got in there for the Boo Bash, how did you like it? What did you get to experience? And most importantly, what did you notice about the crowds?
They got us in before it officially started. That was nice. And they fixed it in 5 minutes as they usually do. So once we got in, I do want to say leading up to the castle, the regular park ticket people still there, the Boo Bash people coming in because you can get in early. And I'm like, you know me, I'm the one that's there right at the minute that that anything lets me in any amount of time early. So, very busy at the front of the park. Everybody's waiting for the fireworks show, and the castle show, the production stuff. So I had ordered food, Casey's Corner. So we navigated our way through the crowd. It really wasn't that bad. We got up there, no problem, picked up our food. A nice mom and daughter that were finishing up their meal offered us their table outside of Casey's. We couldn't see the castle too well. We kind of could see it, but we could see the fireworks. And we're sitting there and we're eating and we're just so excited to be in there. And Lydia is like, Mom, there's Tinkerbell. Sure enough, I look over and she sees Tinkerbell coming down the sky out of the castle, over to her spot and I was just like, I could have almost cried at that moment because, I just seeing my kids so excited Disney, especially Lydia, who is just as big of a Disney nut as I am. The fact that she caught that moment, that she was super excited. It was like our first literal 10 minutes at the Boo Bash and it's starting off, I was a little, not upset, but it was like, oh, I got here right at 7. I got to go over to guest services, got to get, but that just sort of melted all that away. I'm in here. I'm lucky that I can be here. I'm so thankful for this time with my daughter. We've got our food, we're watching the fireworks, and she sees Tinkerbell, and I'm like, this is just perfect. um, the night was amazing. Once the fireworks show was over, all the regular, day ticket guests started to leave. Uh, we immediately started heading towards rides. Although Haunted Mansion is our absolute favorite, Lydia wanted to wait a little bit. She wanted it to be really dark. So we did It's a Small World first. We rode Haunted Mansion twice. We rode Peter Pan twice. We rode so many rides. Dumbo, we rode the People Mover, Pirates, Jungle Cruise, Aladdin's Carpets. I'm sure there's more that I can't think of. Oh, of course, the aerial ride. We had our popcorn, we had our ice cream, drinks aplenty. Anytime you want a drink, you just walk up and get it. Trick or treat. We got to trick or treat. Trick or treat lines, barely anything. I mean, it's as much as the tickets are. I know they're a little, can be a little pricey, but I would absolutely recommend you do the after hours parties. If Lydia would ride all the rides there, we could have rode all the rides, but she wanted to ride her favorite rides multiple times. So if we didn't ride Haunted Mansion twice, Peter Pan twice, that would have fit in 2 more rides. The carousel was our last ride of the night. She is a take it to the end of the night girl, just like me. It is literally 3 minutes to midnight when the party ends. She's like, Mom, we have 3 minutes. We can ride the carousel. Here we are. We're on the carousel when the bell's dinging, letting you know, hey, it's midnight. Everybody go. Disney does not rush you out. We definitely had our plenty of time to make our way to the front, but absolutely loved it. I'm doing the Christmas party this month. Can't wait. I will always spring for the after hours parties for sure.
One thing that you mentioned, and I want to make sure that people don't gloss over this, that with the Boo Bash, even though it was more expensive than a Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party would have been in the past, you get the after hours perks like
Mhm.
free snacks and sodas. I was drinking free sodas that I brought back in my backpack for like a week after I did the Boo Bash because you got to make it worth your while, right? But I definitely saw you post on your social media pages a picture of Lydia there eating her free Mickey bar, and that's really what these things are all about. Like you can talk about all the different stuff and how much maybe prices increase at certain times or certain things that go away and certain things that are new, but it's really about those moments. A little girl there eating that Mickey bar at the Boo Bash. Those are the kind of things that keep us coming back time and time again, all those experiences. Melinda, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It was fun.
Make sure to follow me on social media to get videos, live streams, blogs, and pictures from the theme parks. I'm even planning a special fall-time giveaway for social media. You'll definitely want to be a part of this one. Facebook.com/ear-to-there-Rick, Twitter.com/Rick_ear, Instagram.com/RickEar2there, and Twitter.com/TGTT podcast. Let's keep things moving by heading over to the land of Lincoln and our good friend Marisa from Chicago. How are you doing today, Marisa?
I am doing great. How are you?
Excellent. I am just coming off a Run Disney weekend where I took part in the Wine and Dine 10K.
Woohoo!
And I know that you are such a big fan of Run Disney weekends, and you have one coming up. And I think we're both thinking about another one that is on the horizon. So I thought this would be a great opportunity to talk about Run Disney and why we love it so much.
Awesome. It is one of, I think, the best events that Disney puts on. So I'm excited to chat about it.
So we both had our first experience with Run Disney races the exact same weekend, and it was about 3 weeks before the entire world shut down. That was Princess Half Marathon weekend 2020. You did the 10K. I did the half marathon. So why don't you talk about, first of all, your first experience with doing the 10K? What made you fall in love with it? What were some of the characters that you got to see? What was your experience like?
It was such an incredible experience. It was actually my first 10K that I've ever ran. So I was very, very nervous going into it. I really didn't know what to expect. I'd done like 5Ks at other events, but obviously never a Disney event before. And so I was very nervous, but the people were very friendly. They were very fun. I made friends standing in my corral before the race even started. It was just this great feeling of camaraderie and excitement, and everyone was so happy to be there. And then the run itself was fabulous. The course was great. There were a lot of characters out and about around the course. Unfortunately, I didn't stop to meet with any of them because I was so afraid of being swept. I was fine. My pace was fine, but I was terrified that I was going to get caught up with and have to leave the course and not get my medal. But that's something that for future races, I'd like to be able to stop and take more time because they always bring out some rare characters, it seems.
Absolutely, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute, but I want to know, what parks did you go through as part of that Princess 10K?
So we just went through Epcot. We started out in the Epcot parking lot, and then we ran through Epcot along the boardwalk, and then we circled back around. But we actually did, when we ran through Epcot, we ran around World Showcase, which was gorgeous. And I know I've talked about it before, but that just really stands out in my mind as such an incredible part of the course and such an amazing experience to have.
And I just want to state that when Marisa was talking about being worried about being swept, So what she is talking about is there is a 16-minute mile pace that they try to keep you to, and if you don't make it in that time, they sweep you up and they put you in a vehicle and you don't get to finish. Now, you didn't have to worry about the medal thing because they will still give you your medal and you can finish your race on your own to earn that, or if you don't feel the need to prove it to yourself, you can just keep the medal anyway. And this is very important. They start the clock on the 16-minute miles after everybody has started, and they stagger the start of the race. For example, this past weekend, I started about an hour after the first people started because I signed up like 2 weeks before the race. I was not thinking I was going to do it, and I was really, really far back. I think it was literally 55 minutes after the first people started that I started, and there were still some people behind me. So if you were in one of those earlier groups, you had an hour to add to the 16-minute mile. While I understand why it is so easy to get paranoid about being swept, it's not likely to happen unless you're really, really struggling. And at that point, maybe it's better for your health that you get swept. But I just wanted to clarify that you will still get your medal. Run Disney events are not cheap. So I want to make sure you know that you will get your medal no matter what. When I did the Princess Half Marathon the day after you did the 10K, our race started in the Epcot parking lot. We went all the way up to the TTC and into the Magic Kingdom, ran through Magic Kingdom, and then looped around, coming back down, going through Epcot. We entered Epcot from behind the Imagination Pavilion and ran through to the Mexico Pavilion and then exited the park behind the Mexico Pavilion, ran backstage, and finished up again in the Epcot parking lot. That was a very difficult course because we spent very little time in theme parks, and that's, I think, when it's easier. It's easy to stay motivated when you're inside the theme park running because they have the photographers there and you always want to look good for the photographers. You're always making those poses and flexing your muscles or whatever you do when you see the photographers. But the Princess Half Marathon course is not inside theme parks very often. This past weekend at the Wine and Dine 10K, the course was really cool. We started at the TTC by Magic Kingdom. We ran the first 5K. About half of the race was just running down World Drive. We weren't in any theme parks. But then after that, we almost immediately entered Hollywood Studios, ran down part of Sunset so the photographers could take pictures of us with Tower of Terror in the background. It was still dark. I can't wait to look at some of those pictures. And then we cut backstage, ran across by the Boardwalk Resort, the Swan and Dolphin, ran past the Yacht and Beach Club, and then entered Epcot behind the UK Pavilion, and then ran all the way down past Spaceship Earth and into the parking lot. So that was a really good course because the second part, where it was the hardest, was the most fun because you were running in these unbelievably beautiful locations.
That's a great course.
Yeah, I was really excited when I saw the images of the course. It's one of the reasons that I signed up for it because they had actually released the course before I signed up for the event. And if you are wondering, yes, at 7 o'clock in the morning, I did stop to make sure I got my Remy's Ratatouille Adventure boarding group while I was in the middle of the race, and I still wasn't in any danger of getting swept. So I want to stress how you don't have to worry about that as much as you think.
What boarding group did you get?
I got boarding group 53, I believe.
Wow, that's good.
It was. I ended up not using it, so I feel bad for anybody who wasn't able to get a boarding group that day. But I was hoping, you never know, you might get an early one in the day, and then I would just do it. But I had to work that night because I'm a lunatic, and I decided it was better just to get some rest at home instead of riding Remy's Ratatouille Adventure.
Probably a good call. 'Cause you had to be at the corral by what, like 3 a.m.?
I had to be at the parking lot at 3 a.m., so I left my house in the Tampa Bay area around 1 a.m. And I was standing from about 4:30 to almost 6 o'clock when I started running and it was freezing. It was like 41 degrees and it was drizzling. It was not the best conditions for a race. But in the past, I've had amazing weather for the races. The Princess Half Marathon in February was the perfect time of year here in Florida to have a race like that. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, you are planning on doing Princess this upcoming year. So tell me about what you have planned.
I am. I'm doing the 10K again, and I'm very excited. I almost went for the challenge, but I decided not this year, maybe next year. We'll see. But yeah, I'm excited to get back on that course, see if they change anything, and meet some more characters this time around.
And the medals this year for the Princess Half Marathon weekend are awesome. I believe you're getting Tiana for the 10K.
Yes, that was a big motivator for me. I love Tiana, so I was very happy that she was the 10K medal. I believe Mulan is the challenge medal. That alone almost made me sign up for the challenge, but I just couldn't do it.
She's actually the half marathon medal.
Oh, she's the half? Okay.
Yeah, she's the half marathon medal this time. And unfortunately, all of the races right now are sold out except for the virtual. And I am a huge Mulan fan, so I'm thinking about doing the virtual half marathon. But I might be waiting for the Run Disney Springtime Surprise Weekend, which is happening March 31st through April 3rd. And this is going to be really, really exciting. I know a lot of people are thinking about doing this one. I'm thinking about doing it. I know you're considering it. The Expedition Everest 5K, the Race for the Taste 10K, which appears to be Ratatouille themed, judging by just the images they have on the website. And I'm imagining that'll be a run through Epcot in some form or fashion. And then the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror 10-miler as well. A little bit different race length there.
Oh, this is very cool because just the length alone, it's a great in-between challenge. It's a little more challenging than a 10K. You know, you have almost 4 extra miles tacked on, but it's still not as intimidating as a half marathon. And I think in the past, that was an evening run, but this time it's a morning run. It's exciting because seeing Hollywood Studios that early in the morning, I think will be beautiful, which you just got to see. So you know how great that will look early in the morning.
I think the one that's really standing out for me the most this weekend is the Expedition Everest 5K, because I have to imagine you're going to be running through Animal Kingdom, and that just has to be beautiful. I can't imagine running through Disney's Animal Kingdom, seeing characters, seeing the Tree of Life, seeing Expedition Everest all lit up in the nighttime. I know for a fact I'm going to do the Expedition Everest 5K. I don't know if I'm going to do the entire challenge, but I have to do that race because it's going to be too cool.
That one really caught my eye too. And it's a scavenger hunt. So you get to do a race and then also do a scavenger hunt through the park, I believe during the race, which is super cool and just a really nice twist on its standard 5K. And like you said, going through Animal Kingdom when it's so dark and all lit up, and if they have you run through Pandora maybe, you know, while all that bioluminescence is lit up, it has the potential to be the most beautiful race course we've seen. I'm going to stake my claim on that as an Animal Kingdom supporter.
So general registration for these races starts December 9th of 2021 at 10 a.m. From everything I know, if you just want to do the 5K, you better be ready December 9th at 10 a.m. Eastern, because that's going to sell out very, very quickly. I have a feeling the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror 10-miler will also sell out pretty quickly. You might have a chance with Race for the Taste for it to stick around for a few days, but I don't think you're going to have a lot of chances to do these individual races much more than a few days after they go on sale. And for the 5K, it might only be a few hours.
Yeah, I could definitely see that one selling out very, very quickly.
And they also do the Run Disney Springtime Surprise Challenge, which would be all 3 of the races, which would be $445, but that's usually an easier way to lock in all of the races. And something interesting they're doing this year as well is the Run Disney Springtime Surprise Sunrise Yoga for $95. I have no idea what's going on there because I will not be taking part in that, but I'm definitely thinking about all three of the races, at least the Expedition Everest 5K and probably the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror 10 miler as well.
Well, hey, if you're doing those two, you might as well just do the challenge.
Right, because what's another 6.2 miles? It's nothing,
Yeah,
right?
at that point.
Although one thing I do want to mention is the 5K is March 31st, and the 10K isn't until April 2nd, with the 10 miler on April 3rd. You actually could take off the 10K and have 2 full rest days in between your 5K and your 10 miler, so that might be beneficial. So thank you so much for joining me again, Marisa, talking about Run Disney, which we both really, really enjoy. I hope that you end up deciding to do this springtime surprise, because I know you're thinking about it as well. Hopefully we'll get the chance to get some pictures with medals together.
Hopefully, that would be fantastic.
Marisa from Chicago is going to be back on the show next week to talk about her most recent visit to the most magical place on Earth, including her first time using Genie Plus for a theme park day at Walt Disney World. I know this new feature's been controversial, and you may want to hear from Marisa some of the things she discovered when she was there. Thank you for joining Marisa, Melinda, and me for episode 41 of Tall Guy Talks Travel with Rick Doherty. Until next Thursday, have a great week.